Well, my mother, she was born in Cherokee County. They had a place on the river out there. And my grandfather had a store out there at a gin and about 300 or 400 acres, a big farm.
Cotton gin?
Yeah, cotton gin, yeah. And she was born and raised out there. Then later on, my grandfather moved back to Ackworth, and he bought the house next to the Christian church up there. And there's where I was born, at the old home place there. But mother, she was working at the tapestry mill down here, Rothschild's. And my dad moved down here, I don't know exactly what year, but it's 28 or 29, and met my mother. And they got married. And he was from Gaffney, South Carolina. We all played football together, and that's why I love high school so much, because I love football. And Mr. T.C. Cantrell, he kindly boosted me along and helped me out and kept me in school. And like I said before, I was supposed to graduate in May of 1950. And he came to me and talked to me and said, "Joe, you got another year of eligibility." Said, I wish you'd come back and play football next year. We'd have a real good team. So 3 of us came back, Ed Durham, Doyle Minner, and myself. We returned because we had another year of eligibility.
Because this is right at that transition period where you used to graduate at the end of the 11th grade, and they were just adding the 12th grade?
Well, we didn't have 12 grades in.
It's still the 11th.
It's still the 11th grade. See, I graduated when I was about 17 years old. But anyhow, we came back and we had a great football team. We lost our first game and our last game. We went 7-2 that year. And the best team that Ackworth had. I wanted to go to a military school, so Frank Conway and Buddy Conway and myself, we went to Georgia Military Academy, which is Woodward Academy now. We went down there for a year. And something else that people, it's hard to believe. I was 14 years old. I would catch a streetcar from College Park to Georgia Tech and get out, and I'd thumb a ride at 14 years old back to Ackworth. And I tell people that, they said, "Joe, you had 14. I said, I was 14, almost 15 years old, and I had my uniform on, and people would pick you up and bring. And I used to hitchhike from.
So this would be like 46, I guess, since you were born in 32 that you're talking about, 1946.
It was 46 and 47, yeah.
So you had your military institute uniform.
Yeah, I got a picture of it there where I was down there. I just went 1 year.
So then you'd come up the 4-lane to...
Pardon?
You'd come up the 4-lane?
There was no 4-lane then. You had to come...
46?
No.
Oh, you're right.
There's no 4-lane. I would hitchhike. They'd bring you up through Smyrna, Marietta, Kennesaw, and come out right through Ackworth. That was a main road right there through Ackworth, 41.
Yeah.
When I went off to service, and I got drafted, and when I came off to service, then I went down to the beach down there, and she was down there one day, and I just got to talking to her, and I says, "Reckon your dad let you go out with me?" She said, "I don't know, but I'll ask." So she called me and said he said he would. So we had our first date. She was about 15 or 16.
Oh.
She was a junior in high school.
So you'd been in your 20s by then.
Yeah, I was 6.5 years older than her. So our first date, to make a big impression, I took her to the Fox Theater. We saw 3 coins in the fountain, and that did it. So then I came back. I was on leave then, and I went on. I still had about another year of service, so we wrote for a while. Then we quit. She started dating somebody else. Then when I got discharged in 1955, I came back and we reunited and started dating. We got married in 56. She graduated in May of 57. We got married in December of 57. I imagined education. I was going to be a football coach. That was my desire since I played football. I said, I'm going to be a football coach. So I was phys ed, education.
But you got a job?
Well, I got back and I hadn't finished college. I still like 2 more years of college. And so I went to night school on the GI Bill down in Marietta. They had a night school
Oh,
down.
University of Georgia.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in Marietta, and I'd go down there at night on the GI Bill, and I got so much. But then I was working. I bought the car, and got engaged, got married.
Yeah. Bills to pay.
Yeah, and that was about the way it is.
Yeah.
When I got married, I couldn't afford a house. I had a house trailer, and me and him both had house trailers, and so we pulled those house trailers, a 42-foot house trailer, with a car from Aqua to St. Louis, Missouri. If you can believe that or not.
Wow.
Stayed there about a year. They called me back to Lockheed, and then I came back and got laid off again. And they wanted to know if they wanted to recall. And I said, no, don't recall me. I'm not coming back because it's not. Then I had a chance to go to work with Long John Silver's.
Okay.
So
What were you doing for them?
I was they call us field engineers. I was over construction for the Southeast.
Oh.
What I would do, they would say, Joe, here's some plans. Go to Spartanburg, South Carolina and get permits.
Mhm.
Or go to Gaffney, South Carolina and get permits. Or go to wherever I had to go get permits
Mhm.
and find out all the restrictions, and I'd
Mhm.
send them back in. Then I'd pick out 3 contractors, and they'd bid it.
Mhm.
And my boss and myself would pick the contractor we want to build the store. So they would build them, and then I would go in and inspect and make sure that they were building them according to the specifications.
Uh-huh.
I did that for 20 years.
Mhm.
I retired for about 6 months. I sat around the house and didn't have that, so I went back to work with my son. We put
What's his name?
Kurt Jolly, named after my father,
Okay.
and Linda's father. His name was Joe, and my daddy was named Kirk, so we named him Joseph Kurt Jolly.
Okay.
Yeah, after both of them. So we started putting alarms in, and I retired from them a couple of times, but I went back to work, and we're still doing alarms now. And I go out and sell and do service calls.
Still doing it.
Yeah, still doing it. Well, I could retire. It's not like working for somebody.
Right.
Like today, you come down here, I take the day off.
Uh-huh.
And if we want to go on a trip, I couldn't work for somebody going to work at 8 to 5 every day.
Mm-hmm.
But this keeps my mind busy and keeps my body healthy. Well, my dad, after he bought the house in Aqua for $1,200, 2 acres,
Mhm.
it didn't have a bathroom in it. And it was no plumbers in Aqua then. So he bought a book on plumbing and put a bathroom and shower in our house there.
Mm-hmm.
And our next door neighbor, which is Mr. Cunningham, he said, Jolly, I didn't know you could do plumbing. He said, well, I'm just learning. He said, well, I need a bathroom in my house. So I put it in his house. But he was still working. This was like in 1944. But he was still working at the tapestry mill, and he's doing this on the side. Then when Mr. Bryant came back from the service, he got the superintendent's job back, so Dad was going to have to go back to fix it, so he decided he'd just go out on his own, start doing plumbing.
Mm-hmm.
So he started doing plumbing, and he did plumbing till about 1950-something.
Mm-hmm.
And he was an alderman, a council member here in
Oh, really?
in Aquas.
Mm-hmm.
After he retired, he worked for Mr. Parker at the hardware, and also he part-time as policeman here in Aquas.
Really?
They had a school down at Massey College, and she went to night school down there and learned how to do IBM cards.
Mm-hmm.
She got hired at Lockheed before she got graduated. They had this IBM punch cards, and she got down there and she was lead lady in that thing. She worked down there until we had children, and I moved to Cartersville, and she quit working, and she helped me there with the laundry, and she helped me in the security business.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I remember IBM cards very well.
Yeah, she was a key punch, what they called them, I think. But she, in fact, we were both, when she first went to work there, we were both working there. She was making more money than I was.
Is that right?
Yeah. That was right after 1957. I was still living in Akron, working at Lockheed, yeah.